He was just a great, fun dad, a cool dad. He's gonna always tell you, I'm cool, I got the swag. I could not have asked for a better father for my daughter. And for his life to end the way it did, it was just horrific.
Firefighters discovered an unidentified body.
Investigators immediately smelled the unmistakable scent of gasoline. Timothy greeted someone at the front door.
This person who appears to be a meter reader.
We tried to ask the public, hey, does anybody know who this person is?
I'm like, what enemies could he have? Who could do this?
All that effort to more or less put a costume on, then execute them. It's kind of the ultimate payback.
On September 14th, 2015, at 12:43 a.m., the Chicago Fire Department responds to a 911 call about a house fire in Morgan Park.
The neighbors heard a loud explosion. It woke the whole neighborhood up. And because it alarmed everybody, they proceeded to call 911.
Firefighters find a single-story home fully engulfed in flames.
Firefighters rush inside of the house to battle this blaze.
By 1:22 a.m., the fire is extinguished.
Firefighters aren't going from room to room. They discovered an unidentified body in the back addition.
They discover this body. It's burnt, really beyond, recognition.
The homeowner is listed as 48-year-old Timothy Lawrence.
The assumption is that it was probably Timothy. One of the firefighters knew him and called his ex-wife.
It was early in the morning, I would say probably 3:30 maybe. My phone rang and it was his cousin. He was a firefighter. And he was like, hey, we just got a call. There's a fire at Tim's house. He's like, have you heard from him? I called my parents and I'm like, hey, I just got a call saying that Timothy's house is on fire. Nobody can reach him. And my mom didn't want me to drive, so they came and got me. And we went to the house. In my mind, I'm still hoping, I'm still praying.
Timothy Lawrence was born in Chicago on March 21st, 1967. The second son in a family of 5.
Timothy's parents got a divorce and he ended up moving around a lot. In fact, he stayed in about 17 addresses.
His father lived in Aurora, and Timothy spent quite a bit of time with his father. Timothy decided to enroll in high school in South Shore, where his grandmother resided.
During his senior year at South Shore High School, Timothy met Patricia.
I remember it clearly. It was on the 63rd Street bus. He got on with a friend of his. I was sitting in the back of the bus, and he came up there, and him and his friends just started messing with me. I had a heavy accent at that time, so when I said something, he was like, oh my God, where are you from? And so we just got to talking, and he asked for my number, I gave it to him. And by the time I got home, my grandmother was like, hey, some boy named Timothy called for you. I'm like, wow, that was quick. He was just a totally opposite person from me. He was more outgoing. He had so many friends where I was more of an introvert. So I think that's why we got along so well. I think I fell in love pretty quickly with him, and we just started hanging at every opportunity we got, and he was so ambitious.
Timothy dreamt of becoming a professional performer.
Stuff like that.
Timothy set his dreams of fame aside and focused on fatherhood.
Once I had Destiny, he was like, you know, I gotta take care of my family. I gotta do something else. So he went ahead and got his CDL, and he was on the road for a while. He did not like it. He did not like being on the road, especially. He'll be gone weeks at a time.
When he was on the road and couldn't answer, I would leave him voicemails of me, of like songs that I came up with. It was really cute.
In the early 2000s, Timothy and Patricia hit a rough patch.
I think we just kind of grew apart. And I know people say that, but it is something that happened. I think we just, because we met so young, I think both of us didn't think that we didn't experience life, you know.
Not quite ready for divorce, the couple settled on separation.
It was very kind of strange for me, to the point where he had to kind of drill it in my head, like, no, we're separating. This is for real.
There was a few years after we separated that things was pretty rough with us, but we always knew that our number one priority was Destiny. That was it. I mean, we would argue, but when it came to her, there was no argument.
Whatever the case may be, he was there. He was my biggest hype man.
A decade, Timothy and Patricia remained separated.
They were just like very good co-parents and best friends.
We got back together several times. The only reason that the divorce finally went through is because he started dating a young lady, and he was like, I don't think it's right in God's eye that I'm still married, but I'm out here, you know, dating.
I would say he was kind of a ladies' man a little bit. There were a couple girlfriends that I was introduced to. They were cool.
In the fall of 2014, Destiny moved to Alabama for college. Even with hundreds of miles between them, Timothy was always there for his daughter.
The only thing that he kind of drilled into my head was to stay in school, get as much education as he can. He's always been a great dad.
In the pre-dawn hours of September 14th, 2015, Timothy's house has been gutted by a fire. A body, presumed to be Timothy, has been found inside. Patricia arrives on the scene.
When I walked up and introduced myself to the detective, I explained who I was, and he was like, have you heard from Timothy? I said, no. He was like, at this time, we're thinking that the body that was found was his. I just broke down, and in my mind, I'm thinking, this can't.
The police asked Patricia, Timothy's ex-wife, to come to the police station to give an interview.
With Patricia on her way, detectives with the Chicago Police Department take an initial walkthrough of the scene with investigators from the fire department.
Fire investigators immediately smell the unmistakable scent of gasoline.
For all purposes, this was an obvious arson.
The smell of gas is very distinctive, and there was no reason for there to be gas inside the residence unless it was used as an accelerant to start this fire. The body was so badly burned that they couldn't tell who he was or how he died, but everything pointed to foul play.
Detectives released the body to the medical examiner for autopsy.
Investigators had a lot of questions still to answer, but one thing that was clear, this was now a crime.
Following a fire at the home of 48-year-old Timothy Lawrence, Chicago investigators suspect foul play.
There was a body. It smelled like gasoline all throughout the house. And there was this massive fire.
We know it's a crime, so evidence technicians come.
The body was found in an addition in the back of the house, so they're going to start there.
So that's really where the fire started. I mean, that was like burnt to the ground. That was all made of wood.
That was a point of origin. There was several distinct areas where an accelerant was visibly seen and you could smell it.
Because the fire was started where the body was found, that told law enforcement that whoever started that fire was trying to burn the body as well.
A lot of people use arson to try to cover up the physical evidence because it does do a good job of burning up all those things. When things are burnt, there's no DNA, there's no fingerprints, it's gone.
Investigators locate a potential source of evidence that wasn't destroyed.
There were some external cameras on Timothy's residence. One on the garage facing the driveway and another one on the porch facing the main entrance.
The cameras are connected to a computer inside the house.
The DVR was burnt up and the hard drive and all the contents were melted. However, there was a sign that said protected by this particular security company and had a phone number. The provider's placard says, hey, call this number for assistance. That's the only possible hope.
They reached out to the security company to see if they could obtain footage.
They had to get a warrant, which could take a long time, but it could really pay off.
Investigators look for more immediate answers.
When anything like this happens, you do what's called a canvass. You knock on the doors. Hey, do you know who lived over there? How is that person? Do you know anybody that you'd think that, would want to do this?
Many neighbors knew Timothy Lawrence and described him as a quiet man who was a good neighbor, kept to himself, and largely hung out with his own family.
One of the neighbors points out that Timothy owns 3 cars, but only 2 were in his driveway. There's a dark color Buick LeSabre that's missing, and so the police issue a bolo to look out for the car.
Detectives head back to the station.
It's normal for the police to do a background investigation even on a victim. And they did conduct one, and they didn't find anything. He had a pretty clean history.
Investigators speak with Timothy's ex-wife, Patricia.
At first they thought, oh, was he into something illegal? Was he doing why he put cameras up and all that? I'm like, if y'all knew him, he was the furthest thing from doing anything illegal.
Timothy had a nephew who had some brushes with the law, so law enforcement asked Patricia if there was any kind of connection there.
They was like, do you think he's capable of doing something? Like maybe he came and asked for help and Timothy wouldn't help him. I hadn't seen the kid in years, so I did not know if he was capable. I didn't think so, but you start looking at everybody differently. You start looking at everyone sideways. Even people that you've known for years, even family members, you start thinking, okay, are they capable of this? Who would do this to him? Who would have such an animosity towards him to do that?
Patricia couldn't think of anyone who might be after Timothy or want to hurt him. He was a hard-working family man.
The next day, investigators attend the autopsy.
The police still don't know 100% whether the body is Timothy or how he died.
Because the body was burned so badly, it came down to the dental records, which confirmed that the body was in fact Timothy Lawrence's body.
The autopsy also reveals Timothy's cause of death.
When they examine the body, they can see that there's an obvious, bullet wound in the back of the skull.
It was determined that he was killed by a medium caliber bullet to the left side of his head. This is a homicide, and it was an intentional arson and killing.
Detectives share the news with Timothy's family.
It was very jarring, very confusing, because like I said, the type of person my dad is, it took a lot for him to even get mad. So I'm like, what? It just was confusing to me, because I'm like, what enemies could he have? You know, who could do this?
It was hard, especially with Destiny. I mean, it was to the point where we couldn't be out of each other's sight. And all I was trying to do is be as strong as possible for her without her seeing me breaking down. I would go in the bathroom and I would cry just so that she don't see me crying.
2 days after the fire, investigators get a potential break when Timothy's missing Buick is found abandoned 2 blocks from his home.
Whoever took the car could know something or could be responsible, so it was really important for law enforcement to process the car carefully.
And then evidence technician comes and processes that car. So the exterior for fingerprints, the interior for fingerprints and biological material.
They didn't find any fingerprints in the car. That's usually a quicker result, but they also processed the car for DNA. That, however, takes longer to find out.
A few days later, investigators receive a response from Timothy's security company.
So the detectives hear from the security company and find out that they are able to pull that security footage. That is fantastic news.
Detectives start from the beginning, watching video from weeks before the fire.
You start watching all the different video clips, and remember, it's motion sensor, so the car goes by, the mailman comes and delivers mail, the kid kicks a soccer ball. You got to watch that. We tease and say it's the game of duck, duck, goose, right? You're like duck, duck, and then go, wait a minute. And that was really the turning point in this case.
Hours of security camera footage obtained from the home of shooting victim Timothy Lawrence. A clip from 2 days before the fire catches their attention.
On September 12th, it appeared that Timothy greeted someone at the front door. This person was dressed in a hard hat and a day glow vest.
He had what it looks like an iPad or some sort of tablet in his hand, and he's also carrying a satchel. The other camera in the back catches him walking to the back, and then you see him talking to someone in the window. Moments later, Timothy Lawrence walks out of the backside room and talks with this individual. And this individual seems to be pointing around and looking, and then they go into that residence.
An hour later, the camera picks up the supposed utility worker leaving the home. He no longer has on his hard hat or his day glow vest, but he has on a t-shirt that says, "I'm that dude," as well as a bandage over one of his hands.
In both videos, the police can't really see this individual's face, but what they can see is that he has on a very distinct t-shirt.
Then, investigators see what happened to Timothy's Buick.
And he gets in the victim's car, Timothy Lawrence's car, and leaves.
For 2 days, there's no sign of this man, but more importantly, no sign of Timothy.
Then on the 14th, Timothy's vehicle returns. The quality's good enough where you can make out the license plate of the car, and you know the shape of the car.
It's the same guy driving, but he's not alone. There's someone else with him now.
The recording picked up 2 men headed towards the front door with a gas cannon.
One guy, he has a skull cap on, like a knit hat, and some other clothing. But if you watch the video, he never looks at the camera. And he doesn't give a side profile to the camera. He takes out the 2 large gas containers. The other person gives a pretty decent side profile, is much taller.
The suspects use a key to get inside of the home. So now the police have not 1, but 2 suspects that they're looking for in connection with this crime.
And then it goes dead. Someone disabled the power.
It ended just before the fire was reported.
Someone was thinking that, hey, I'm going to unplug, it's not going to work anymore, right before he set the fire. And he's like, I don't care because it's all going to get burned up. He didn't know it was in the cloud.
Timothy was not seen again after he let the person dressed as the meter man inside his home.
It looks like the first man in the utility uniform came, killed Timothy, left, and came back later with an accomplice to burn the place down.
After you look at this information, what do you then do? Okay, I know this person went and got, an accelerant, some gasoline.
Investigators look at Timothy's credit card activity.
The police discovered on September the 13th that somebody using Timothy Lawrence's credit card purchased gasoline in the amount of $28.76 from a local gas station.
That is the day before Timothy's home burned down, but it's the day after the mysterious meter reader visited Timothy's home. The person who did it stole Timothy's credit card, used it to buy gasoline, to then burn down the house to cover up the crime. Police visited the gas station and interviewed the service manager who was on duty at the time. Unfortunately, however, he's unable to identify the potential suspects, and there's no surveillance video.
On January 3rd, 2016, police widened their search by releasing stills from the videos to the public.
There was a time out there that we kind of hit a dead end, and we tried to ask the public, hey, does anybody know who this person is?
No one comes forward, and his family doesn't recognize them. They have what they think are actual pictures of the persons responsible, but they have no idea who they are.
Months pass, and the men remain unidentified.
At that time, it seemed like, oh my God, it's been years almost. It just seems so long. In reality, it was just a few months. But while you're going through that process, it just seems like a long time.
I was worried about that because, a lot of crime and murder that happens in Chicago, it can go unsolved. It can never be solved.
9 months after the fire, on July 21st, investigators finally received the results of the forensic testing from Timothy's recovered Buick.
DNA is discovered on the pair of eyeglasses that are found inside of the vehicle.
DNA leads police to a 42-year-old Chicago resident who has a long criminal history. His name is Willie Bell.
In July 2016, 9 months after the murder of Timothy Lawrence, Chicago police have a suspect and a name.
Willie Bell had a long list of prior convictions, including a conviction for armed robbery, aggravated discharge of a firearm, and for trespassing.
To learn more about him, investigators look online.
Social media postings are not private. They are there for the world to see. Oftentimes, defendants, or criminals, or people accused of crimes leave breadcrumbs on social media.
Right away, detectives locate an incriminating photo.
Investigators made the shocking discovery in Willie Bell's social media of photographs of him wearing the same shirt, "I'm that dude," that was seen leaving the home after the murder of Timothy Lawrence.
We saw the shirt, "I'm that dude," which is still one of my all-time favorite ironies in cases.
Investigators obtain warrants for Willie Bell's private Facebook messages.
Detectives go through hundreds of messages. They learn that his 3-year relationship with his girlfriend had ended, and Willie refused to accept that it was over.
Detectives make a potentially important connection.
On July 30th, Timothy Lawrence had become Facebook friends with Willie Bell's ex-girlfriend. Around the same time, Timothy and the ex-girlfriend became connected. Willie got into a really bad argument with his ex-girlfriend.
Detectives theorized that Willie was jealous over her new friendship with Timothy. He amped up his efforts to get in touch with her.
Willie Bell even got creative and found other ways to contact her through social media. She had blocked him because of these attempts, but he used other social media accounts in order to get in touch with the ex.
She finally communicated with him and seemed to have indicated that she was interested in someone new.
So the only connection that the police can find is this woman between Willie Bell and Timothy Lawrence. And it looks like Willie Bell thinks that Timothy Lawrence is the person that has replaced him.
You know, you can feel the rage starting when he's learning about, this other relationship. You could see it building.
Willie Bell went through multiple sort of diatribes on social media, expressing his frustration with the loss of the relationship and expressing frustration with the new person that was in his ex-girlfriend's life. Murders have occurred based on jealousies or disruptions in relationships since the beginning of time.
Timothy's family members know of the woman, but say the relationship wasn't serious. In fact, it was barely a relationship at all.
From what I understand, Timothy was on his normal garbage route, and he saw her trying to get a car seat in her car. So he stopped the truck and helped her, and that really sparked that relationship where, hey, this person's a nice guy, and they started talking.
Investigators interviewed the woman.
You know by talking with her just in a couple minutes that this is not someone that's going to conspire with somebody to murder.
So the investigators think that Willie Bell actually believed that the relationship with his ex and Timothy was a lot more than what it really was. And it was driving him so crazy that he went after this man who wasn't even the rival that he thought he was.
By the fall of 2016, investigators believe Willie Bell is responsible for the death of his perceived enemy, Timothy Lawrence.
Investigators believe that on his visit to Timothy's home, Willie Bell shot his romantic rival in the head, stole his credit cards, and stole his vehicle. In order to prove him guilty, they've got to put their case together piece by piece, brick by brick.
Think of a spoke of a wheel. It's all of these spokes all pointing to the center. It has to be that person.
Well, the investigators put surveillance on Willie, and they determined what he drives, which is a Cadillac, and they also know where he lives.
While we were building the case, we kind of kept an eye on him there and also at his residence. That was on the way for two of us three to work every day, and we would just make sure that Cadillac is still there and he's still not in the wind.
Investigators learned that Willie Bell is employed as a truck driver.
There is no record of Willie Bell working as a meter reader in Chicago or anywhere else. Authorities believe that he had purchased the Dayglow vest and the helmet as a ruse to get into the home of Timothy Lawrence. Timothy Lawrence, being oblivious to what was going on, readily invited this meter reader into his home.
That leads them to canvass a local hardware store to see if they can find where Willie purchased this costume that allowed him to gain access into Timothy's home.
Footage from a local hardware store shows Willie entering the hardware store and purchasing the hard hat and the Dayglow vest 1 week before the murder of Timothy Lawrence.
When at the time, the self-checkouts where he went to have a little micro SD card, and it only records 10 days. So we couldn't get that great facial shot because it was beyond, by the time we figured this all out, it was a little bit later, but they still had the footage, the overview footage of him coming in, him purchasing it.
They also obtained footage of him leaving the store in his Cadillac.
Next, detectives subpoena Willie Bell's phone records.
Cell records can show you which cell tower a phone pings from. You can start to pinpoint about where that phone was.
The phone records placed Willie Bell in the area of the home on both the day of the fire and on the day of the homicide.
He was in the area on both the 12th and the 14th.
The records also expose an unexpected clue.
Phone records revealed that Willie Bell was in constant contact with Philip Bell, his older brother, at the time of the fire at Timothy Lawrence's home. So police had their man. But there was that second person that they saw in the video carrying the gas can.
Could it be Philip Bell?
A close analysis of the surveillance video, as well as a still shot of Philip Bell, led authorities to the conclusion that Philip was the accomplice of his brother Willie on the day of the fire.
On October 24th, 2016, over a year after the fire, authorities are ready to confront Willie Bell in person.
We call it the death of 1,000 cuts, so it's all of those pieces of evidence. It's not just one, it's the stack upon stack upon stack. It's the DNA, it's the cell phone evidence, bringing him in those scenes. So looking at all those facts, there's no one did it but Willie.
More than a year after this murder had been committed, Willie Bell was stopped by police as he drove home from his job.
Myself and Detectives Cummings actually grabbed him, was right in front, not too far from his home, right in front of the 22nd District Police Station when we picked him up.
Willie doesn't have a lot to say. He denies everything. He isn't going to confess. He says he does not know Timothy and he's never been to Timothy's home.
4 days later, police arrest Willie's brother and suspected accomplice, Philip Bell.
If you have two people that have committed a crime together, you're going to obviously use that against each other to have one talk about the other one. Now's the time to
Chicago investigators interview Philip Bell regarding the shooting of Timothy Lawrence. They suspect that Philip helped his brother, Willie, attempt to cover up the crime by setting a fire inside Timothy's home.
It's always interesting when something happens and it's family involved. It just comes down to either loyalty or self-preservation.
So this is a very difficult situation for the brother to be in because he has his loyalty to his brother, but also he has to save himself. And Philip ultimately chose to talk and tell the truth.
So Philip said that Willie called him and told him that he had hit a lick, meaning that he had tried to rob someone and that person had fought back. During the struggle, Willie said that he had shot and killed the other person.
Philip advised him, you can't leave it like that. You have to burn it down.
And Philip agreed to help.
Philip looked beyond the fact that he may have been involving himself in a crime and was loyal to his family, a decision that he will forever regret.
Philip tells investigators that on September 13th, he went with his brother to Timothy Lawrence's home.
Philip told authorities that he and Willie went inside of the home, doused it with gasoline. Philip admits to stealing a laptop computer and a camera before leaving the home and setting it ablaze. The brothers then quickly fled the home as it became engulfed in flames.
Philip says he didn't know about it until later when he heard about the crime on the news, that his brother had killed Timothy Lawrence out of jealousy. Since the night of the fire, he says that he and Willie have never discussed what happened.
Investigators charge Willie with premeditated murder.
Willie Bell was charged with first-degree murder, concealment of a homicidal death, home invasion, residential arson, and possession of a stolen motor vehicle.
When you see that he goes through all that effort to more or less put a costume on, to get someone inside their house, then execute them, then come back days later and torch the place to make sure they're not caught, it's kind of the ultimate payback.
Even so, justice is anything but swift.
Willie and his attorney kept making excuses as to push it back, keep pushing it back.
Philip is ultimately charged with concealment of a homicidal death and residential burglary.
Philip pays the price for his involvement. In 2021, he is sentenced to 2 years, one in prison and another under supervised release.
His brother kind of went to jail and got out before Willie even got sentenced.
In April 2023, Willie Bell runs out of excuses.
It took 7 years. It was the longest 7 years of my life. I must commend the state's attorney at the time. Him and the victims and witness advocate, they kept me up to date with everything. I was at work and he called me and he's like, I have some news.
Willie decided ultimately to cut his losses and to plead guilty. He pled guilty to 1 count of first-degree murder and received a sentence of 28 years in the Department of Corrections.
If it was left up to me personally, he would rot in jail for the rest of his life. And he could still. Because, ain't no telling what happens while they're in prison. So it could be a life sentence to him, but to me, it wasn't long enough. It was not long enough.
Whether or not justice was served is really up to the family of the deceased. He suffered a tragic, horrible death that he did not deserve.
My fondest memory of him was, just him always being there for everything when it came to Destiny. Everything, every show, every performance, anything that has to do with his pie, he was there. And I could not have asked for a better father for my daughter. He was just a great, great person. And for his life to end the way it did, it was just horrific.
After something like that happens, you can never really move on from it. But we can, heal. I've continued to follow my dreams. I'm still trying to pursue what I'm passionate about. And I think he would, really be proud of that.
Devotion. The willingness to do whatever it takes for the one you love. The commitment to step up to the plate for them, no matter what. But when does devotion get in the way of making the right choices? What happens when you love someone so much, you are so devoted to them, that you risk it all and lose yourself in the process? March 4th, 2006. It's a quiet night in the city of Fresno, California.
Fresno is a very diverse city. It's a cultural melting pot.
There are cows and farms. There's also the urban city, all in close proximity of each other. So it's kind of unique.
On the city's northeast side, police are surveilling a home they believe is the hub of a grand theft auto enterprise.
At this time, there was a string of robberies and burglaries in the city. It was becoming a big concern for the people in the area.
People were scared. They didn't understand what was going on.
Police believe the culprit to be a male in his mid-20s, who 2 weeks earlier, in the midst of this crime spree, had been caught on surveillance video stealing rims worth upwards of $5,000.
The surveillance cameras was a huge break in this case, and it connected the dots for the string of robberies that had been taking place.
After the rims were stolen, they were posted for sale online. Posing as potential buyers, the police initiated a sting that brought them to this quiet Fresno home in the hopes of bringing down the entire operation.
They go to the home of the person who's selling the rims, fully expecting to see the male who had stolen them on the video surveillance.
They knock on the door and they're shocked.
The detectives were surprised to see a woman open the door.
She looks very naive, innocent.
Who is this unassuming young woman? Could she really be the mastermind behind this ring of larceny? Soon, police will discover that there is more inside the home than just stolen rims.
For this man, she had put herself into some deep water.
Bright, beautiful California native Misty Franklin was the kind of daughter every mother dreamed of.
Everyone liked Misty. She always was smiling, always happy. Growing up, we were very home and family oriented, very loving, very compassionate.
She just had this aura and glow about her that you just felt like she was going to be great in life.
Misty had a heart of gold and the brains to boot.
She was actually a straight-A student in high school and first-generation college student in her family. So that was a huge sense of pride for her.
Misty was driven, she was focused, she had her eye on the prize.
Misty was enrolled at Fresno State University, where she majored in criminology.
I wanted to be a correctional officer, in addition to minoring in victimology and working with victims. Working in criminology would give me the field of understanding harm, understanding trauma, understanding why criminals commit certain crimes.
She was completely focused on her studies and was not easily distracted.
She didn't party like the rest of the kids on campus.
I was a college student with heavy studies, working a night job. So I knew work, I knew study, and I knew home.
But in the spring of 2003, Misty's friends convinced her to take a night off from studying and join them for drinks.
We all got dressed, we got glammed up. The atmosphere was lit. I loved it.
At the end of the evening, Misty met someone that would change her life forever.
See a gentleman looking at me. We make eye contact, kind of speaking the same, language without using verbal phrases.
The handsome stranger was 24-year-old Thomas Williams.
Thomas was handsome, nice build, dress. Oh, to the T. He looked immaculate. He just smiled, and I smiled too. And then after that, we just had conversation.
The electricity is palpable. They are feeling each other. They hit it off immediately.
Thomas was a smooth talker, had a deep voice, and when he spoke, it's just like I melted, like the cookie crumbled. We had a phenomenal time, and it was just like I was in another world. After that, Thomas and I would start dating. This was my first boyfriend. I was super excited.
After 3 months together, the happy couple moved into a place of their own.
Thomas worked as a security guard, and although he didn't make a lot of money, he really doted on Misty and made her feel like a queen.
Dropped me off at school, dropped me off at work, picking me up. He was a sweetheart. He was a provider.
They spent a lot of time together. He wooed her. He showered her with flowers, with gifts.
Thomas was very affectionate. He loved embracing, he loved hugs, kissing, all the good stuff. We just had great chemistry.
She starts feeling all these novel feelings that she's never felt before. She starts to feel beautiful. She starts to feel wanted. She starts to feel needed by a man.
He gave me butterflies. My world lit up. He was someone that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with.
But little did Misty know, just 3 years later, her love for Thomas would cost her everything.
This was the love of her life. She had no idea what was coming.
March 4th, 2006. Fresno police are in the midst of a sting operation to put a stop to a larceny ring. After surveilling a suspect and locating a set of stolen rims online, undercover detectives move in on a home in northeast Fresno.
The detectives are expecting to see the man from the surveillance tape.
But rather than their suspect, a beautiful young woman answers the door. She identifies herself as 20-year-old Misty Franklin and shows the potential buyers the merchandise.
Misty says that the rims belong to her, and she begins to make this transaction. Once the transaction has occurred, the police officer takes out his badge and identifies himself.
I knew then it was a sting from the police. I was terrified. I wanted to run, book it and run. I wanted to get away, but there was no place for me to go.
They're asking her all these questions about where the rims came from, who stole the rims.
Misty stands by her original claim that the rims belong to her.
He said, I don't believe it's yours, but if that's the story you're going to go with, then that's what we're going to go with.
With Misty now in custody, the officers look around the garage and find much more than stolen rims.
There was a bunch of car parts in the garage. They were actually running a chop shop.
They're surprised to not only find stolen goods, but large amounts of marijuana ready for sale.
Between the marijuana and the stolen car parts, Misty could be facing significant jail time. But who was the man seen in the surveillance video? And what was his connection to Misty? The answers were about to come flooding in to police in a terrifying story of devotion, abuse, and above all, betrayal.
She has no clue what she's now gotten herself into.
I went from surviving to sinking. I didn't know who I was. I didn't have self-love. I was living a nightmare.
Fresno State College student Misty Franklin seemed to have it all: a supportive family, a promising career path, and a boyfriend, Thomas Williams, who had recently swept her off her feet.
Everything between Misty and Thomas seemed really perfect. It seemed like she had found her Prince Charming.
Thomas was someone that I thought I could live my life with forever. Very encouraging. Thomas was amazing.
He was there for it. He was open the door for you. He's at the family functions. Everybody loves him. The family is speaking highly of him, etc. To Misty at this point, like, this is it. You can't get no better than this guy, you know?
But oftentimes, relationships that burn hot from the get-go can turn to ashes before you even realize. And in Misty's case, her desire to keep that flame alive would have dire consequences. On March 4th, 2006, Misty, just 20 years old, has been arrested after attempting to sell stolen rims to undercover cops. And although surveillance video shows a man stealing the very same rims, Misty insists they are hers.
She's adamant. She refuses to change her story. Misty says everything in the home belongs to her.
Misty doesn't budge.
In their search of the residence, police confiscate dozens of stolen car parts, suggesting the home is being used as a chop shop. But that's only the tip of the iceberg.
They find other stolen goods and, to their surprise and shock, a sizable amount of marijuana and cash.
As Misty is taken downtown, word gets around about her arrest. Friends and family are taken aback.
I got a call and they told me that Misty was being arrested and she was going to jail. I was hurt. I was in disbelief.
I was absolutely shocked, stunned to find this out. The string of robberies throughout the city really was like the highlight of the news on a weekly basis. I mean, in no way, shape, form, or fashion did Misty even cross my mind, because that's not who she was. She would never be involved in anything like that.
I thought, what have I got myself into? What was I doing? You know, I got myself into a lot of trouble.
At the station, detectives do a background check on Misty and discover she is squeaky clean.
She had never been in trouble with police or anything like that.
She doesn't have a criminal background, so they are really confused as to how she got mixed up in all of this.
Detectives also learn that Misty's boyfriend, 24-year-old Thomas Williams, lived at the residence as well. Unlike Misty, Thomas's record is anything but spotless.
He had been arrested multiple times for, I mean, you name it, pretty much almost everything under the sun.
In fact, Thomas was actually being held in Fresno County Jail at that very moment on an unrelated assault charge, which means that not only is he the prime suspect in their larceny investigation, he also has a predilection for physical violence.
Detectives become more and more convinced that Thomas is behind this burglary issue with Misty.
Armed with this information, detectives sit down with Misty for an interview.
Misty was terrified. She realized that this was a lot more serious than she had thought.
I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I've never been taken to jail, so it was a scary moment for me. Just a part of me wanted to just drop to the floor and just die.
Detectives lay the evidence out to Misty, hoping she'll admit that Thomas is the one calling the shots on all the criminal activity.
They believe she's doing it for her man.
The police would ask me who stole the rims and who the drug and the money belonged to, and I would tell them that it was mine.
But even after detectives explain the prison time she's facing, Misty stands by her statement.
The police officer would give me a look and said, "You really want to say this is your stuff?" And I said, "It's mine."
Misty doesn't budge. She's in love. She's smitten with Thomas, and she's gonna stand by her man.
She really felt that she was being loyal to him, that this was the right thing to do.
When you're in love like that, there's probably no end to what you would do for a person.
Even though detectives feel Misty is covering for Thomas, they have no choice but to throw the book at her.
There's really nothing that they can do because Misty confessed to the crime.
I was charged with possessing of sales of marijuana and transporting, and also grand theft.
But the next morning, just as police are closing the book on the case, new information emerges. Information that begs the question, is Misty the real mastermind in this grand criminal enterprise? Or is she merely a pawn, willing to take the fall, all in the name of love?
This is someone that I wanted to be with and someone that I loved. So I made bad choices that were not good.
March 2006. 20-year-old Misty Franklin has been charged with grand theft and possession of marijuana with attempt to sell. However, Fresno detectives believe Misty is taking the fall for the crime's true mastermind, her boyfriend, Thomas Williams.
Despite the surveillance tapes and the overwhelming evidence that her man was the perpetrator of these crimes, Misty would not give him up.
With Misty claiming sole responsibility for this ring of larceny, detectives are prepared to slap her with all the charges and call the case closed. But before they do, some new information comes to light from an anonymous source.
She insists that Thomas has been manipulating Misty, that he has coerced her into doing many things that Misty would have never done on her own.
The source admits at first, Misty and Thomas seem like the perfect couple. But 2 years into their relationship, Thomas lost his job as a security guard, and things began to deteriorate.
Misty noticed a change in Thomas after he lost his job, that he became a lot more controlling, a lot more withdrawn.
I noticed that we weren't having as much sex as we used to. I noticed that he wasn't as affectionate how he used to be. There was so much going on with him that his love started to slowly die.
The whole Prince Charming had went out the window. There wasn't any more flowers. There wasn't any more surprise dates, opening doors for you.
As Thomas began to withdraw emotionally, he simultaneously exerted more control over Misty's day-to-day life and soon began preventing Misty from leaving the house.
I felt that Thomas was overreacting at times when he didn't want me to go. I felt that that was kind of odd and that, why am I not allowed to go to gatherings? But that was his part of way of being controlling. He wanted to make sure he kept me close and in his eyesight to see things that went on with me and to make sure I didn't get too far out to his reach.
Thomas began to tell Misty things like he was her only protection, that it was dangerous out there in the world, and that if she went out, that she could be hurt. And this was his methodology of keeping her in the home.
She kind of withdrew. If we planned something, she would tell me, well, I'm not feeling up to it. And she would cancel on me. So just knowing that her and my communication was kind of going downhill kind of alerted me that something's going on.
I lost myself. I lost who I was in my identity. But I would keep going because I was so in love with Thomas.
As the months wore on, Misty's friends and family became increasingly suspicious of Thomas. Not just for his controlling nature toward Misty, but for how he was keeping them afloat financially.
I just had an uneasy feeling.
Even though Thomas has lost his job, he began to have more money than he had before.
He began to have some serious influx of cash. Where is all this money coming from?
I was asking Misty, well, what is he doing? How is he getting money? And she kind of was like, oh, well, he does odd jobs, works on cars,
Ironically, Misty herself was unaware of exactly how Thomas was still generating income, despite losing his job as a security guard.
I'm like, why do you have a second cell phone? And it's like, oh, it's nothing. I'm like, oh, okay. Went on about my business, but still had that lingering thought in my mind. Like, what is this for?
Misty started noticing that there was like car parts and pieces of automobiles that didn't belong.
I questioned, what is this stuff? And he's like, oh, I bought them from a car. Okay, bought them for your car.
According to the source, Misty's loved ones were now certain that Thomas was involved in criminal dealings. But Misty's undying love for him had made her blind to his true nature.
I tried to warn Misty about him. There's family that tried to warn Misty about him, but I think it's just one of those things you can't, there's nothing anybody else can say.
We were trying to give her advice, but she was too far gone at that time for advice.
I still ignored the signs and still loved Thomas. I wanted to keep working it out, keep our relationship together.
But Misty wasn't prepared for the violent turn the relationship was about to take.
He goes completely ballistic. For the first time in their relationship, he hits her.
In the spring of 2006, college student and criminology major Misty Franklin is in custody after police discovered thousands of dollars in stolen car parts and illegal drugs at the home she shared with her boyfriend, Thomas Williams. Misty insists that the contraband found in the home is hers, not Thomas's.
She is adamant about claiming these items belong to her. She refuses to throw Thomas under the bus. It's not happening.
Complicating matters is the fact that detectives have now learned that Thomas was arrested on unrelated assault charges several days prior to their sting. Now, detectives are speaking with a source who's painting a picture of the mind games Thomas exerted over Misty, and confirms police suspicions that Thomas was the true mastermind behind the crimes.
She has intimate knowledge of the relationship, and she tells the police about how Thomas has been very manipulative to Misty over the years. However, Misty was in love, and love is blind.
By the fall of 2005, the volatile relationship between Misty and Thomas escalated to new heights.
I had to do a project with a guy at school, and we had to exchange numbers to work on the project. So I would, text the individual from school working on the project.
Thomas decided to go through her phone and saw that she was texting a male classmate and immediately became jealous.
Thomas thought that the guy and I were having a conversation, or the guy was interested in me.
Thomas flew into a jealous rage.
He was like, oh, you're talking to this guy. Who is he?
He goes completely ballistic. He accuses Misty of cheating on him, of flirting with this guy, and for the first time in their relationship, he hits her.
It was something that I've never experienced before. I was devastated and didn't understand what was going on. The pain that it caused was unbearable. I felt worthless, and I felt that I needed to get out. But how?
Misty couldn't believe this happened to her. She didn't know what to do.
At that moment, I felt that I needed to get out, but I was so entangled in our relationship that if I left, what would happen to me?
Missy chose to stay with him, to not leave her man, because she loved him And that had to be a very challenging decision because that totally went against everything, how she was raised.
From that point on, Misty's primary focus shifted from pursuing her criminology degree to trying to nurture her relationship with Thomas.
As time goes on, Thomas begins to divulge more and more of his criminal activities to Misty. He begins to tell her all about the inner workings of selling marijuana. For the first time, he asks Misty to partake in his criminal activities.
I was just flabbergasted. It's something that I didn't want to do. I didn't understand, nor did I want to accept it.
She's growing more and more concerned about him being arrested. She talks to Thomas about going legit and getting a legitimate job.
But Thomas clearly wasn't interested.
Thomas let me know, like, look, this is what I'm doing in regards in the streets, and this is how it's going to be.
She sees that this discussion actually pushed him further away. And at this point, she's desperate. She's willing to do anything to get their love back on track.
Yes, there was criminal activity going on, but I still loved Thomas the way that I loved him. I was his girlfriend, so I needed to support him.
Misty eventually gave in and agreed to help Thomas with whatever he needed from her.
I was trained to do the transactions. Thomas would sit me down in the living room. We would go over with the scale how to weigh out, ounces and grams and how to package them up and have them ready for when the phone rang and someone wanted to purchase.
Before long, Misty had put her entire future on hold in order to help Thomas with his criminal enterprise.
Within 3 years of dating Thomas, I dropped out of school and I was head over heels. I was there for Thomas. I was supporting his habits and supporting things that he was doing, and whatever he asked of me, I did it.
But as Misty would soon find out, her loyalty towards Thomas was a one-way street. There was another woman out there who also believed Thomas was her man and was willing to go to the mat in order to prove it.
I was pushed down to the ground. I was just hit and kicked.
She's never been in a fight before. And here she is being knocked to the ground and beaten up.
March 2006, Fresno, California. 20-year-old Misty Franklin is under arrest after police found a collection of stolen car parts and illegal drugs inside her home. However, detectives believe Misty's live-in boyfriend, 24-year-old Thomas Williams, is the true mastermind behind the operation. And an additional source has offered statements that seem to confirm investigators' theory.
She confirms police suspicions, and she lets them know that Thomas has really been manipulating Misty.
The love that I have for Thomas was unconditional. My loyalty was there. I was willing to write the journey out for Thomas.
It's clear to investigators that Misty is willing to take the fall for Thomas, come what may. What they don't know at the time is that her devotion to him is a one-way street.
There was an incident between another young lady and I that would constantly call Thomas's phone. She said that she was in a relationship with Thomas and that I was interfering in her relationship with Thomas.
This woman told her that she was actually Thomas's girlfriend. The situation escalated immediately and became hostile.
I was pushed down to the ground. I was just hit and kicked.
She's never been in a fight before. And here she is being knocked to the ground, kicked, and beaten up.
This was a serious surprise and a blow to her ego. She had never encountered something like this.
I was heartbroken. The trust factor was gone. I was devastated to know that the love that I have for someone was going out the window.
After the altercation, Misty was prepared to leave Thomas for good. But Thomas tried to convince her to stay.
Thomas spent a great deal of time consoling Misty. He spent a lot of energy around assuring her that she was the only one, that she should believe him, that he did not have any sort of involvement with other women.
He just was like, she's tripping. Don't worry about her. I'll take care of it. Like, you're my girlfriend, you're my woman, and everything's fine.
Of course, under Thomas's account, this woman is not his girlfriend. This is just a deranged woman, and she's tripping. That's his story. He's sticking to it. He's adamant that, listen, there's no other woman. It's just you.
Despite her better judgment, Misty listened to her heart and chose to stay with Thomas.
Misty knew that it was probably best to leave him, but she found it very difficult to do so. She felt obligated to him. She felt tied to him.
In fact, Misty was so tied to Thomas that despite the incident with this other woman, she continued to assist him in running his criminal enterprise, even after he was arrested on the unrelated assault charges.
Thomas was sent out on a 90-day op to one of the prisons here in California, and Thomas this time couldn't get out. So Thomas needed someone to still run the operations and transactions for him.
Misty loves him, and she hopes that this will be the thing that will make him see that she's loyal to him, that she's faithful to him.
Her love for Thomas was all encompassing. She would do anything to keep that love intact.
So now, basically, from his jail cell, he's running his operation through Misty.
She prepared the marijuana for distribution. She kept the cell phone line open.
They would call and say, meet me here at such and such place, and I want an eighth, or I want a zip. And I would supply them what they needed.
In addition to the marijuana runs, Thomas asked Misty to fence the other stolen goods he had stashed in their house.
He was telling her he sells things on Craigslist all the time and how easy it was to do. And so I don't even think she had a clue of what was going on. She wanted to prove her loyalty to him, that she was in his corner no matter what.
Having compiled all this information, detectives take another crack at Misty. Will she finally come clean? Or will she continue to take the fall for her man, no matter the consequences?
So I can only imagine, like, that moment for her. This is like life-changing experience right here.
He believed that Misty was someone that he can mold to help him with this criminal enterprise. Young women will get involved with these men that are in the criminal world, and these women fall in love with these men. I want them to know that they're stronger than what they think, and although they might be falling in love with the wrong person, they don't have to stay in that.
I believe Misty has been covering for in an effort to conceal his drug dealing and robbery scheme.
Detectives think Misty is innocent and that Thomas has really been the mastermind behind this whole thing.
The detectives gave Misty the opportunity to recount her story.
Despite some of the concerning elements of the relationship, the manipulation, just some of the questionable things that had gone on within the relationship, Misty was rock solid and going to stand by Thomas's side.
I wanted to prove my love to him. I wanted him to know that I was a woman that supported him wholeheartedly, that I was there for him no matter what we went through, that I would stand by his side.
We see the slop. These men tend to groom these women, and they're willing to do anything for their man, including taking a charge.
With that, Misty is escorted back to her cell. In the summer of 2006, she's found guilty of grand theft and possession of drugs and sentenced to 1.5 years behind bars.
I feel like I failed my mom. I failed my family. I felt hopeless. I felt worthless.
It felt like my whole heart had crushed and just fell apart.
They were witnessing the bright, young, beautiful college student that they had raised being sentenced to prison now. This was tragic.
As for Thomas Williams, he was never charged for the spate of robberies that plagued Fresno in March of 2006, nor the distribution of narcotics. But after serving time for the assault charges, he resumed a life of crime, which would wind up costing him everything.
Thomas went to a place to commit a robbery and was murdered. Part of me was very devastated, but it's a sigh of relief. Like that tie had been broken even more. And although that happened to him and it's sad, he just never seemed to get his life together.
Misty was released from prison in January of 2008. Today, she works as a law facilitator, empowering victims to confront their assailants and establish a dialogue that enables both sides to grow and heal.
She really turned her life around. She finished school, she became a paralegal, she became a youth advocate, and she really did what she originally wanted to do, and that was help people.
Misty is right back on track. It's like she never left.
Fast forward to today, and she's definitely the Misty I grew up knowing. The smile is back, the glow is back, the love for life again. You can see the ambition in her eyes. Misty's story is a testament that you can go down this path and make it out.
She had a challenge. She had to make some decisions that created suffering, and she rose to deal with them. And she came out of that challenge greater than she went in.
I would like to share know that as a woman of color, my silence serves no one. I have arrived as a woman to use my voice and a woman to help other women that are or may be in a certain situation as mine overcome their challenges. I am not what society paints about me. Yes, I made a mistake and went through something, but look how far I've come as a person.
When you are madly in love, the world outside of you and me can get blurry. Your devotion can take over, and you no longer see the difference between right and wrong. You find yourself willing to sacrifice everything for your man, only to realize in the end, the man you loved was never truly worthy of your devotion, or the price you had to pay. Abuse is never okay. If you or someone you love is in an abusive relationship, there is help available. Call the Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799. When you find someone new after ending a marriage, it can give you hope that you're still worthy of love and make you feel that spark again. But what if that spark is just an illusion? You can't see it yet. But your new man isn't who you think he is. In the haze of blind love, you'll soon find yourself going against your morals and betraying the ones you hold most dear. Currituck, a sleepy coastal town along the Inner Banks of North Carolina.
Currituck, North Carolina is a very small beach town. People like to go boating, fishing.
It's a pretty small community, and everyone is connected in one way, shape, or form.
But at 4 a.m. on March 11th, 2015, police sirens are piercing through the early morning air.
Officers are responding to an urgent 911 call. The caller says she's just been robbed and attacked.
She said she was hit in the hip and felt like she was losing a lot of blood.
When first responders arrive at the home, they find the elderly 911 caller, 86-year-old Janice Hart, on the floor in her bedroom.
She had been struck by something and she was bleeding from the head.
Janice doesn't appear to be conscious, but fortunately, officers are able to determine that she's still alive.
Luckily, there was enough time to get her to the hospital.
Police wonder who would brutally attack a helpless senior citizen in the middle of the night, and why.
Currituck's a pretty small area. They don't get a lot of violent crimes, and the fact that this victim was elderly was a really big concern for the law enforcement.
The race to find Janice's attacker will lead authorities to an unassuming young woman whose love for her man knew no bounds.
Here she has trusted this man, fallen in love with someone that she's barely known.
She knew this wasn't a good or the right thing to do, but she wanted to prove to her man that she had his back.
"33-year-old Lakeisha Boyd was a beautiful, hardworking single mother.
Lakeisha wanted to provide the best life for her 3 children, so she found a full-time job as a housekeeper.
Lakeisha comes from a close-knit family. She's very family-oriented.
Lakeisha had recently gone through a messy divorce with the father of her children, so the last thing on her mind was love.
She was still trying to heal from her divorce and just make her children her #1 priority.
She really just wanted to focus on raising her 3 children and just really get her head on straight.
But soon, love would find Lakeisha anyway.
One day, while Lakeisha was at work, she saw this really handsome guy.
When she locks eyes with him, it's almost like sparks fly instantly.
Instead of simply walking by, he stops and strikes up a conversation. It was clear from the start that there was a mutual attraction.
The handsome stranger introduced himself as 30-year-old Eugene Williams.
Lakeisha just felt like there was something about this man. There was an allure.
Eugene was very charming. He was very charismatic. Lakeisha knew that this was somebody that she wanted to get to know more.
It wasn't long before Eugene was asking for Lakeisha's number.
He asked her for a date, and with no hesitation, she accepted.
She was excited. It was so unexpected. He flattered her.
When Eugene showed so much interest in her, it was a breath of fresh air.
This guy just seemingly showed up out of nowhere, and he likes her. You know, he wants to take her out. He wants to get to know her. And I think that feels good considering all that she went through in her marriage.
That weekend, Lakeisha and Eugene went on their first date.
Eugene spoke to her in a way that she wasn't used to. Flattered her, gave her compliments.
They immediately fell more and more into each other.
Emotionally and physically.
Lakeisha was on cloud 9. Even though she wasn't looking for love, it felt good to be wanted by a man after a messy divorce.
She found herself feeling things that she hadn't felt in a long time. She felt beautiful, she felt desired, she felt wanted.
He filled those voids and made her feel loved because she was lacking that after the divorce. And she loved that about him.
Within weeks, Lakeisha and Eugene were talking about a long-term future together.
He always was telling her that he was going to be able to support the kids, support her, that they were going to move in together.
But little did Lakeisha know that in order to keep her new man's love, she would need to do whatever it took to prove that he was her number one, including sacrificing those she cared for the most.
She wanted to prove to him that he came first in her life, even above her family.
March 11th, 2015. It's just after 4 a.m. in Currituck, North Carolina.
Police have responded to a home invasion where they found the homeowner unconscious, suffering from some pretty deep head wounds.
She was unconscious, but still alive. Thankfully, there was still time to save her life.
They immediately rushed her to the hospital.
With Janice en route to the emergency room, detectives arrived to begin processing the scene.
Detectives started to see if they could find any clues to connect them to the alleged perpetrator.
The very first thing that they noticed was there's damage at the front door.
It's clear that someone busted the lock to gain entry into the home.
Authorities find the attack deeply troubling.
They don't have a ton of violent crime in Currituck, so anything to this magnitude really made it a very serious case that law enforcement was in a hurry to find out what was going on.
Investigators search the rest of the home, but there is little that will help lead them to a suspect.
Unfortunately, there is no DNA or fingerprints behind that can identify a suspect.
But what motive would drive someone to brutally assault an 86-year-old woman?
Officers are just hoping that the victim makes it out of surgery so that she'll be able to tell them exactly what happened that night.
Little do police know that an unexpected informant will soon reveal an entirely new layer to the crime, one revolving around a twisted relationship with unscrupulous intent.
A citizen arrives at the police department to report another robbery.
He tells the detectives he knows exactly who's involved in this.
In the spring of 2015, 33-year-old Lakeisha Boyd was finally putting her life back together after a painful divorce.
Lakeisha just wanted to focus on picking up the broken pieces and just getting stable with her 3 children.
But her world was turned upside down after a chance meeting with a handsome stranger, 30-year-old Eugene Williams.
Even though she wasn't looking for love, it felt good to be wanted by a man after a messy divorce. Eugene was charismatic, he was charming.
There was an instant connection between the two of them.
Lakeisha Boyd fell really fast for Eugene Williams. Within weeks, the two of them were madly in love and planning for a future.
But Lakeisha never could have imagined what the future with her new man would cost her.
Little did Lakeisha know that in order to keep Eugene's love, she would need to prove it and do whatever was necessary.
March 11th, 2015, 6 a.m. Police in Currituck, North Carolina are investigating a home invasion where 86-year-old Janice Hart was brutally attacked. She's been transported to a local hospital and is in critical condition.
Unfortunately, there was no evidence such as DNA or fingerprints to help them find and identify a suspect.
At this point, the detectives hope that the victim survives so she can give them any kind of input who may have done this.
Later that afternoon, authorities get a call from the hospital where Janice is being treated.
Police received word that Janice had brain swelling and multiple staples in her head.
Fortunately, though, doctors expect Janice to make a full recovery.
The doctors also told the police officers that she was stable and able to answer questions.
Detectives immediately had to speak with her and get more information.
When investigators arrive at the hospital, they ask Janice to recall anything she can about the attack. The elderly victim is still in a lot of pain, but she's able to muster up the strength to tell them what she remembers.
She lets them know that around 4 in the morning, she was woken up by a loud noise in her home.
It sounded like someone had kicked her door in.
Seconds later, a tall black male in a ski mask appeared in the doorway of Janice's bedroom.
Janice said that the man demanded her to tell him where the money and jewelry was, and she insisted that she didn't have any.
The more Janice refused to cooperate, the angrier the man became. And eventually, the situation escalated to violence.
That's when the man hit her in the head with the hammer.
She said she fell to the floor, and at that point, she felt blood pouring from her head.
With Janice incapacitated on the floor, the man quickly grabbed any valuables he could find.
She was able to look up and see the suspect take her jewelry and her purse.
Janice says she knew she needed to call for help immediately, or she wasn't going to survive.
As the suspect was leaving her home, she was able to call 911.
Janice also provides detectives with a list of items that were inside her purse, including $60 cash and a bank card, as well as a description of her stolen jewelry. Detectives are determined to track down the assailant behind this heinous crime.
Police thanked her, and they assured her that they would try their best to find out whoever did this to her.
After speaking with Janice, investigators returned to the police station to continue their investigation.
One of the first things they do is notify Janice's bank about her debit card being stolen.
But before they can continue looking into Janice's case, an officer enters the room.
She says that there's a citizen that's at the station trying to report another robbery that occurred last night.
Detectives immediately wonder if the same robber that attacked Janice hit up a second house last night.
The citizen identifies himself as Michael Donovan.
Michael Donovan said he spent the night out. When he returned home the next afternoon, his place was in shambles.
There were several expensive items missing, approximately $800 worth.
Michael Donovan tells the detectives he knows exactly who's responsible for this.
But it isn't a tall black male like Janice Hart had described.
He said earlier that day that he received a text message from his ex-wife, who was very upset about their recent separation.
She was demanding money for child support and threatened to trash his house if he didn't give it to her.
The items stolen from Michael's house also draw suspicion of his ex-wife's involvement.
The items that were stolen, she would have had knowledge of from living at the house and being at the house with him. So he believed that it was her.
Detectives asked Michael Donovan the name of his ex-wife, and he replies, Lakeisha Boyd.
After concluding their interview with Michael, detectives immediately begin looking into Lakeisha Boyd. And it isn't long before they discover a shocking detail.
She is not only Michael Donovan's ex-wife, but she is also the granddaughter of Janice Hart, who had also been robbed that night.
Police think that it's quite suspicious that a Lakeisha Boyd is connected to both cases.
Even though Lakeisha doesn't match the physical description of the assailant given to them by Janice Hart, it was dark at the time of the crime, so perhaps the elderly victim was confused.
Is Lakeisha someone who's callous enough to rob and hurt their own grandmother?
Seconds later, detectives get a hit on Janice's stolen debit card.
They get a call from Janice's bank informing them that someone attempted to use Janice's card in Elizabeth City.
Could Lakeisha be the one using it?
Detectives know that this is their chance. They need to get there as soon as possible.
When Eugene came about and found Lakeisha, she was just in such a broken state that all she wanted was someone to show her some affection, show her some attention, because the ex-husband just pretty much left her broken without any self-esteem, any self-worth, and any feeling that other people would desire her. And so when Eugene showed so much interest in her, It was like the piece that she was missing in regards to her own personal self-esteem.
March 11th, 2015, Currituck, North Carolina.
Police are investigating 2 home invasions and have just discovered a common link between both cases. A 33-year-old woman named Lakeisha Boyd.
Detectives have learned that Lakeisha is related to both robbery victims, her ex-husband, Michael Donovan, and her grandmother, 86-year-old Janice Hart. In fact, Michael is adamant Lakeisha is the one who broke into his home.
She was demanding money for child support and threatened to trash his house if he didn't give it to her. The police find this very suspicious. They do not think that this is a coincidence.
And detectives have just received information that they believe will lead them straight to Lakeisha red-handed.
Detectives get a call from Janice Hart's bank. They received notification that there had been an attempt to use her card in Elizabeth City.
They found out that there had been several attempts to use the credit card at a gas station, an ATM.
Detectives immediately make the 22-mile drive from Currituck to Elizabeth City. When they arrive, they make contact with the store clerk to view the ATM surveillance footage. And in it, detectives see not one suspect, but 2.
They could see these 2 individuals, a man and a woman, trying to use the card at the ATM.
While the woman in the footage matches Lakeisha's general description, they weren't able to say for sure.
The images were inconclusive. It was dark and it was hard to tell exactly who the person was using the card.
They don't think this is going to be strong enough evidence to make any arrest at this time.
However, it does give them a promising clue in piecing together the crime. If the woman in the footage is Lakeisha Boyd, could the male be the masked assailant that attacked Janice Hart?
She described him as a young black male, tall, thin.
Eager to track down the elusive duo, detectives decide to try another tactic.
They feel that if Lakeisha and this man were trying to use the card, then maybe they were trying to pawn the jewelry in the area as well.
Detectives put feelers out to local Elizabeth City pawn shops. And it isn't long before they get a hit.
The pawn shop clerk says that there was a woman who came in with jewelry to pawn.
And the jewelry fit the description that Janice reported to police that was stolen from her.
Detectives rush over to the pawn shop.
Detectives show the pawn shop employee a picture of Lakeisha Boyd.
The employee was then able to confirm that Lakeisha Boyd was the woman that attempted to pawn that jewelry.
Authorities are now convinced that Lakeisha was involved in the robberies, but they are still unsure about the identity of Janice Hart's attacker.
The police decide to talk to Janice again. This time, they want to know more information about her granddaughter, Lakeisha Boyd.
With the stolen jewelry in tow, detectives return to the hospital to speak with Janice a second time.
They got the items back, showed it to the victim, and she did identify them as being her earrings.
But when detectives reveal their main suspect, Janice is in shock.
Police tell Mrs. Hart that Mrs. Boyd is a suspect in her case. Mrs. Hart is flabbergasted.
She could never believe that Lakeisha would have anything to do with something like this.
Miss Hart goes on to say that her and Lakeisha's relationship has been very, very close, even since Lakeisha was a child.
Detectives ask Janice if she and Lakeisha have had any arguments lately.
Janice does recall an argument they had the previous weekend.
Ms. Hart stated that the previous weekend, her granddaughter wanted Ms. Hart to co-sign a car loan, and Ms. Hart did not, and she stated that that made her granddaughter angry.
However, Janice assures detectives that Lakeisha had gotten over it.
She says that her and Lakeisha get in fights sometimes, but they always make it up because they're very close.
Janice tells police that there is no way her granddaughter could have done this.
She let the detectives know that Lakeisha was a very good woman and it just wasn't something that she would do.
Digging for the identity of the masked assailant, detectives asked Janice if her granddaughter had been seeing anyone lately.
She informed them that, yes, she was, a young man named Eugene Williams.
She said she hadn't met him in person yet, but Lakeisha had told her about him. They hadn't been dating very long, only a few weeks.
Could Eugene Williams be the masked man who attacked Janice Hart? Detectives think they're onto something.
Immediately, detectives begin to dig into Eugene Williams' background.
And they quickly find that Eugene is no stranger to law enforcement.
They discover that he
who's been convicted of felony larceny and attempted burglary with a deadly weapon.
Based on his background, Eugene definitely fits the profile for a person that they're looking for.
But that's not all. Detectives obtain cell phone records for both Eugene and Lakeisha Boyd.
Cell phone towers placed them both at her ex-husband's house and her grandmother's house the night the robberies occurred.
Detectives are confident Eugene and Lakeisha are co-conspirators in these crimes. They issue a bolo for both suspects.
Officers begin scouring the area for Lakeisha and Eugene, but they aren't having any luck. It appears they're both on the run.
However, just hours after issuing the bolo, a shocking development occurs.
To their surprise, Lakeisha actually turns herself in.
Miss Boyd requested actually to be interviewed by the Currituck County Sheriff's Office.
This is a huge turning point in the case.
Even though Lakeisha has turned herself in, police are unsure how cooperative she will be, or if she'll help them track down her man.
She's this woman who's ruthless enough to rob her grandmother. They really don't know what to expect.
She wanted to do anything that was necessary to keep his love.
March 12th, 2015, Currituck, North Carolina. Lakeisha Boyd, one of the primary suspects in a pair of home robberies, has just turned herself in to local law enforcement.
Police believe that she's played a major part in both robberies of her grandmother and her ex-husband. They're hoping to get a confession out of her.
Authorities also hope Lakeisha will confirm the identity of the man who brutally attacked her 86-year-old grandmother during one of the home invasions.
They believe the culprit is Lakeisha's boyfriend, Eugene Williams. So they really need Lakeisha to confirm their suspicions so they can build their case against Eugene Williams.
Fortunately for investigators, Lakeisha seems ready to tell all.
Lakeisha said that she is fully willing to cooperate.
She's visibly distraught. She feels guilty, and she's really ashamed.
This is new territory for Lakeisha. She had never been in trouble before. She tells them that she got wrapped into this whirlwind romance and that she doesn't even recognize herself anymore.
But now, she's ready to make things right.
Lakeisha openly admits that she participated in the robberies of her grandmother and ex-husband with Eugene Williams.
Lakeisha explains that when she first met Eugene, she instantly fell for him.
She was feeling very down about her recent bad divorce, and Eugene sparked a flame in her that she thought had died out.
He excited her in a way that she hadn't felt in a while.
She wanted to feel desired and wanted, and that's what he provided for her after such a messy divorce.
But soon after the couple started dating, Eugene lost his job, and Lakeisha began to see another side of her new man.
She starts to see a side of him that shows that he has some anger issues. Eugene is really possessive, and he becomes very controlling. Some women have a pattern of getting into relationships that are detrimental to them. Each relationship takes more and more away from them. And so they fall prey to men that are controlling and manipulative.
Eugene was often irritable, and started obsessing over ways to make some quick cash.
He knew Lakeisha's ex, Michael Donovan, had a lot of money, so they came up with a plan.
Eugene's answer was very cut and dry. He said he wanted her ex's money, and he wanted it now.
Eugene told her straight up, if you want to prove your love for me, call your ex-husband and ask him for next month's child support now.
Lakeisha felt uneasy, but she agreed to give it a try.
Lakeisha says she didn't like fighting with Eugene.
She was really afraid that Eugene would get fed up and leave her.
So wanting to prove her love immensely, she immediately texted Michael and asked him for the money.
Unsurprisingly, Michael declined to meet the demand, but that only caused Eugene to get even more heated.
And texted Michael himself saying that his home would be trashed if he did not give up the money.
But Michael wasn't budging, and neither was Eugene.
Eugene said that he wanted to go to Michael's house to teach him a lesson.
He felt like if he's not going to give the money, they're going to go and rob his house and take the money themselves.
Lakeisha felt like she was at a crossroads.
Lakeisha Boyd was hesitant to do this because, of course, this is a crime.
She had her children and her career to think about, but she didn't want to lose her man's love.
Ultimately, Lakeisha's love for her man won out.
Unfortunately, Lakeisha's love for Eugene was much stronger than her commitment to herself. So she told him that she would help him.
She doesn't want to fail at love again. She wants to continue to maintain the emotional experience that she's experiencing with Eugene Williams.
Later that night, Lakeisha drove Eugene to Michael's home. The two staked out his place until Michael left for the evening.
Lakeisha sat in the car while Eugene trashed and robbed Michael's place. And she was really thinking about what she had gotten herself into at this point.
Regardless, she was texting him the whole time, telling him where to find the goods.
After the robbery at Michael's house, Lakeisha was hoping they were done for the night.
When Eugene came back to the car, he told Lakeisha that he found some high-end electronics, but no cash.
Lakeisha tried her hardest to suggest that they had gotten what they came for and that they should just go home.
But Eugene still wasn't satisfied.
Eugene was adamant that he wanted more. He needed more cash in his hands.
He was trying to think of people that he knew that had a lot of money.
Weekend before,
He suggests to Lakeisha, what about your grandmother? She's got nice jewelry. She's got nice things. Let's go hit her house up next.
Lakeisha couldn't believe what she was hearing. But at the same time, she didn't want to upset Eugene.
He told Lakeisha that she was either with him or she wasn't.
March 12th, 2015. Authorities in Currituck, North Carolina, are speaking with 33-year-old Lakeisha Boyd, who is coming clean about setting up her ex-husband and grandmother to be robbed by her boyfriend, 30-year-old Eugene Williams.
During the interrogation, investigators find Lakeisha to be extremely remorseful. She can barely even talk through the interview.
Lakeisha says the original plan was to just steal some cash and electronics from her ex-husband, but Eugene wasn't satisfied with the haul.
Lakeisha tells Eugene, we have enough, we've done enough, we just need to go home, but Eugene isn't hearing it.
Lakeisha said that Eugene was thirsty for more. He wanted to rob her grandmother next.
When Eugene brings up Lakeisha's grandmother, instantly, she knows that this is wrong. She feels sick to her stomach.
Lakeisha and her grandmother had gotten in an argument the weekend before, but they'd moved past it.
Lakeisha loved her grandmother and didn't want to put her in harm's way. But Eugene promised Lakeisha that no harm would be done.
Eugene assures Lakeisha that this is going to be really quick and easy. Her grandmother should be asleep.
He'll be in and out. Nobody will get hurt. Nobody will get caught. And it'll be fine.
He let her know that You're either with me or you're against me.
He was insistent that if she wasn't down, then she didn't love him.
Lakeisha admits she reluctantly agreed to help Eugene go through with the plan.
She was willing to sacrifice her life, her career, her family for this man, even against her better judgment.
Lakeisha knows better, but for some reason, there's just something about this man that just makes her throw caution to the wind. Being that she's recently divorced, she's acting from a hurt place and a place of fear. She does not want to lose this man. She does not want to lose this relationship.
Lakeisha drove Eugene to Janice's residence and waited in the car as her man snuck inside.
She told him where her grandmother kept her valuables and told him to get in and get out.
Minutes later, Eugene returned to the car with Janice's purse and some of her jewelry. But he seemed oddly nervous.
When Lakeisha asked him if everything went all right, he said yes. She took him at his word and they fled the scene.
The next day, the couple used Janice's card at the ATM in Elizabeth City. After that, they went to the pawn shop.
Eugene waited outside while Lakeisha went into the pawn shop to pawn the earrings.
But after cashing in the jewelry, Lakeisha got a phone call that would cause her to re-examine everything that had happened the night before.
She receives a phone call from her family saying that her grandmother is in the hospital in surgery.
That's when she learned about the fate of her grandmother. And at that point, she didn't know what to do because she had no idea.
Lakeisha's cousin reported that their grandmother had been brutally attacked during a home invasion, and Lakeisha's heart dropped.
She was devastated about her grandmother's condition.
She's realizing now that she's made a grave mistake.
She said she was heartbroken to learn that the man she thought she loved would hurt her grandmother, a woman she loved so much.
Finally, Lakeisha realized her relationship with Eugene was never going to be what she wanted it to be.
She knew she had to call it off immediately.
Lakeisha says she broke up with Eugene right there on the spot.
She says she couldn't be with someone that would do something like that to her family.
If he could do something like that to her grandmother, then what else could he do?
Hours later, Lakeisha drove herself straight to the police station.
She is remorseful. She's really ashamed, and the guilt was unbearable. Lakeisha's family had been everything to her, and she definitely wanted to right this wrong in any way that she could.
She doesn't know who she is anymore. She's committed these egregious acts against people that she loved.
She's feeling terrible. She's not a bad person. She just got caught up in a whirlwind romance.
Detectives commend Lakeisha for doing the right thing by turning herself in, but they remind her that the man who assaulted her grandmother is still at large. Will they ever be able to track down Eugene and bring him to justice?
At this point, the police ask Lakeisha where can they find Eugene, and she doesn't know.
She doesn't want anything to do with him, and she hasn't spoken to him since she gave him the cash at the pawn shop.
March 12, 2015. Police have just spoken with 33-year-old Lakeisha Boyd, who admits that she helped her boyfriend with a string of home invasions that left her 86-year-old grandmother, Janice Hart, in critical condition.
Janice is in shock. She can't believe that her own granddaughter would do this to her. She feels betrayed. She feels confused.
Lakeisha was charged with first-degree burglary and possession of stolen goods.
Lakeisha's boyfriend, Eugene Williams, is still at large, and Lakeisha hasn't been able to provide police with much help in locating him.
She hasn't spoken to him since she gave him the cash at the pawn shop.
Police are eager to track down Eugene and bring him to justice. But soon, they get a surprise they never saw coming.
Before they can arrest him, they receive word that he's actually turned himself in. Police wonder, will Eugene own up to his actions, or will he blame it all on Lakeisha?
Investigators let Eugene know that Lakeisha's told them everything.
They also show Eugene the cell tower records that place him at the scene of the crimes, and text messages between himself and Lakeisha from that night.
There were text messages between Miss Boyd and Mr. Williams talking about doing a robbery.
Eugene knows he's cornered.
He just decides to go ahead and confess everything. He said the intentions were just to get in, get out, and move on.
But when he saw that Janice was awake, Eugene claims he panicked.
He didn't know what to do, so he hit her with the hammer. It was almost like a reflex.
After she fell to the floor, Eugene quickly grabbed everything that he could and ran out the door.
Eugene said he didn't know if Miss Hart was dead or alive, but he couldn't stick around to get caught.
Police charge Eugene with multiple felonies, including breaking and entering, larceny, assault with a deadly weapon, and credit card theft.
Turns out Eugene was connected to other robberies in the Currituck area. He decided to plead guilty to all the charges against him.
He was sentenced to approximately 25 years in prison.
Lakeisha also pleads guilty to her charges. She faces up to a decade behind bars. But a week before her sentencing hearing, prosecutors present Lakeisha with an unexpected deal.
Janice Hart reaches out to the prosecutor's office to request that Lakeisha be given a probationary sentence. So to honor the victim's wishes, prosecutors offered Lakeisha a probation sentence of 50 months.
Which, as long as she stayed on probation and did what she was required to do, would not send her to prison. Ms. Hart stated she was concerned about Ms. Boyd and the fact that if she went to prison, there would be nobody to take care of her children.
Mrs. Hart, even though was disappointed and heartbroken, she forgave Lakeisha Boyd.
Lakeisha is taken aback by her grandmother's kindness.
For Lakeisha, seeing that her grandmother was still willing to show her love and compassion, it was endearing.
Considering how serious and honestly heinous the crime was, she is extremely lucky that her grandmother asked for a lenient sentence.
Lakeisha takes the deal and promises never to fall into a life of crime again, especially not for love.
She's just focused on picking up the pieces and moving forward with her life.
She is sincerely committed to repairing her relationships with all of her family, but especially her grandmother.
Without family, we cannot achieve any of the things that we want to achieve in life. And it takes time for someone that is romantically interested in you to become family.
Now, Lakeisha is putting her romantic life on the back burner for real, so she can truly heal from her divorce.
Healing from a divorce is never easy. It takes time, and you should never bring what happened in the past into your future. But even if you don't have that time to heal, always understand that your love for someone else should never have to be proven, and it should never lead to you needing to sacrifice your family.
It's said that blood is thicker than water. But a sinister love has the power to destroy even the strongest family ties. And if you fall victim to its poison, you can find yourself spending the rest of your life trying to make amends and rebuilding the bond